Even in modern times, some places are ruled by bizarre and ancient beliefs, like a sacred shrine sealed away and forbidden to be disturbed, or a secluded village that kneels before strange, otherworldly gods. And then there's the peculiar town rumored to be inhabited only by children. This is her new high school, where every student has a name linked to a supernatural phenomenon. But let's rewind to 1 week earlier, at a bustling train station. Here we meet Sakuraba Sakura, a 15-year-old girl about to start her new life. She approaches the ticket counter to purchase a pass to her new home. The station attendant freezes in shock when she names her destination Yuyami Cho. Sakura, completely oblivious, simply confirms the location, unaware of the dread it inspires. The attendant is left trembling and speechless, a cold sweat beading on his brow. Sakura points out his odd behavior, explaining she's just a new transfer student. Regaining his composure, he pointedly asks what business could possibly take her to such a place. His invasive question leaves her completely bewildered. The man's face twists in terror as he warns her that Yuyami Cho is cursed. His sudden, grim declaration sends a jolt of fear through Sakura. He lunges forward, grabbing her and revealing with frantic desperation that he escaped from that very town. Deciding this is way too much, she awkwardly backs away, opting for the ticket machine instead. His desperate cries about the curse echo after her as she retreats. Back in the present, Sakura sits in class, realizing the old man's warning might have been true after all. The teacher instructs the class to pass along some printouts. The student in front of her turns back with a chillingly intense glare. Sakura reflects on the unsettling fact that everyone has been staring at her since she arrived. She realizes their gazes aren't just curious, they're filled with deep-seated vigilance and caution. Lost in thought, she's startled when a classmate announces the school day is over. The final bell chimes through the speaker, officially releasing the students. A blonde girl apologizes for the sudden interruption, a warm smile on her face. Sakura is taken aback, surprised to see someone approaching her so casually. The girl, bag in hand, waits by Sakura's desk, ready to leave together. She introduces herself as Yamazono Karen, cheerfully noting the ominous meaning of her name, Withering Garden. Sakura stares, trying to process the girl with the ominous name. Karen cheerfully suggests they can talk more as they walk home together. With the classroom now empty, she formally invites the bewildered Sakura to join her. They set off down a quiet country road, leaving the strange school behind. Leaning in with a shadowy smile, Karen offers to reveal the town's secrets. She casually mentions the intense stares Sakura has been receiving, calling it a form of pressure. Sakura seeks confirmation, asking if she's done something to deserve such scrutiny. Karen dismisses her concerns, attributing the stares to the simple fact that Sakura's name is so ordinary. This revelation shocks Sakura, who asks if they realize how bizarre their own names are. Karen simply turns and explains that these supernatural names are just a town custom. With a laugh, Karen confirms that yes, they are all perfectly aware of how weird their names sound. She explains these names are a form of protection, a special custom known as Iina. The belief is that ill-omened names will protect children from being attacked, a superstition Karen finds amusing. Sakura is left deeply unsettled, wondering what exactly they need protection from. The two girls walk on in a sudden, heavy silence, the mood shifting dramatically. Karen glances at her phone, noting it's 5 p.m. before giving Sakura a strict, unnerving instruction. Her friend's sudden, cryptic order leaves Sakura utterly bewildered and on edge. A bead of sweat traces down her face as pure terror flashes in her eyes. A sickening, wet sound echoes from somewhere behind her, and Sakura visibly flinches. With a grim expression, Karen repeats her warning, her voice leaving no room for argument. A grotesque, multi-eyed specter materializes behind her, promising to take her sight. Sakura tries to warn her friend, but Karen calmly explains that looking at the creature is what triggers its attack. The horrifying entity looms closer, dripping a foul, dark substance onto Sakura's hair. Karen then shares the grim story of a friend who looked back and suffered a terrible, permanent fate. A splatter of the viscous liquid hits Sakura's shoulder, causing her to flinch in terror. Another shadowy monster with a twisted grin appears, but Karen insists it's just a ploy to make her turn around. Unsettling, wet noises now surround her, trying to break her composure. Just as suddenly as it began, the ordeal ends and Karen praises her for holding firm. Sakura looks back to find the road completely clear, with no trace of the monster or the filth. She spins around to face Karen, utterly bewildered by the supernatural encounter. Karen's expression darkens as she prepares to give Sakura a serious lesson. A terrified Sakura desperately asks for an explanation about the terrifying creature. Karen calmly confirms the station attendant's fears. The entire town is cursed. The old man's frantic warning echoes in Sakura's mind, finally hitting her with its full weight. Karen reveals that a host of horrifying entities have plagued the town for a very long time. She casually explains that the locals have a simple name for these nightmarish beings: specters. Sakura is rendered speechless, struggling to accept the horrifying reality of her new home. She demands to know why the residents don't simply flee from such a terrifying place. Karen offers to take her to the station to demonstrate the grim reason no one can escape. With a knowing look, Karen remarks on Sakura's complete ignorance, glad she was the first to find her. The two girls arrive at the station platform just as a train pulls in. A station sign ominously displays the name Yuyami Cho, with the next stop leading away. Karen explains that this train is Sakura's one-way ticket out of the cursed town. She gives a reluctant Sakura a firm push towards the open doors, urging her to get on. Sakura glances back, her face a mask of confusion and apprehension. With an intense gaze, Karen insists she'll understand the town's secret once she's on board. Hesitantly, Sakura steps into the eerily deserted train car, finding it completely empty. The doors slide shut, separating her from Karen, who gives a cheerful but unsettling wave from the platform. A sudden chilling thought strikes Sakura as she stares out into the growing darkness. She remembers the town is surrounded by mountains, meaning the only way in or out is through a tunnel. The train plunges into the pitch-black tunnel, and a dreadful realization hits Sakura. It exits the darkness only to arrive right back at the Yuyami Cho station platform. Karen stands exactly where she was, revealing she never left, and Sakura is the one who returned. Utterly baffled, Sakura finds herself back on the same platform she just departed from. Karen coldly explains the grim truth. The children of this town are trapped and cannot escape. She gives this particular curse a chillingly casual name, calling it the Returner. A terrified Sakura wonders if the specters are responsible for this inescapable loop. She clutches her uniform, desperately asking if this curse only applies to children. Karen clarifies that any attempt by a child to leave results in them being brought back by a mysterious entity. She walks on, explaining that while sane adults flee, the desperate and the foolish are the ones who remain. Karen turns with a sad smile, revealing that none of the children chose to be born in this town. She then adds a cryptic warning that the adults simply don't comprehend the true nature of the curse. Karen explains the specter from their walk home was one of the better ones, as it followed clear rules. She describes a life of constant fear, where monsters can appear anywhere and survival is never guaranteed. With a frustrated expression, Karen admits she despises this freakish place and would leave in a heartbeat if she could. Sakura is left speechless and horrified, struggling to process the grim reality of her new life. It all clicks into place for her. The students weren't just curious, they were terrified of an outsider. She now understands why they'd be wary of someone who deliberately chose to move into their nightmare. Suddenly, Karen's demeanor changes as she firmly clasps Sakura's hands. With desperate urgency, she pleads with a stunned Sakura to be her friend. She suggests they form an alliance, a partnership to survive until they can finally leave. Sakura understands the curse's one condition: they are trapped only until they graduate high school. Moved by the desperate plea, Sakura looks at her new friend, lost for words. A gentle, hopeful smile spreads across Karen's face as she waits for a response. Sakura bashfully agrees, accepting the unexpected offer of an ally in this nightmare town. Karen's enthusiastic acceptance echoes as the scene transitions, showing the train ticket that started this whole ordeal. Later, Sakura arrives at her new house, a seemingly normal home in a very abnormal town. Settling into her new room, Sakura reflects on her initial fears, now eased by the relief of having found an ally. Her quiet reflection is broken by her grandmother's voice from downstairs, telling her to get ready for a bath. Holding a towel, she cheerfully calls back, embracing a rare moment of domestic peace. A sudden flashback reveals she's not just a transfer student, she's running from an arranged marriage. She admits her new home is awful, but it's a small price to pay for escaping her fiancé. She cautiously enters her bedroom, hoping the horrors of the town will stay outside. But peace is shattered as a monstrous shadow specter erupts into existence before her. She's frozen in place, her eyes wide with sheer paralyzing terror. In a blink, the monster vanishes, leaving the room completely empty and normal. The shock sends her stumbling backward, crashing hard onto the floor. Scrambling on the ground, she insists to herself that the terrifying vision was real. She gets to her feet, realizing the specter seemed to be reaching for her dresser. Her eyes land on the train ticket, and she wonders if that's what the creature was after. The next day at school, Sakura looks around for her new friend, Karen. A classmate named Satake Maresha informs her that Karen is absent, possibly sick. Disappointed, Sakura walks the halls, realizing she can't get answers about the previous night's horrors. Her sleepless night is obvious, as Satake points out the dark bags under her eyes. Her attention is caught by a strange flyer for a paranormal club. The club's promises to solve curses and fear give her a sliver of hope. Another student, Endo Rikishi, explains the club investigates specters but only has a single member. Ogawa Namaniku adds that this lone member is a brilliant but obsessive weirdo dedicated to specter research. This mysterious genius is revealed to be a third-year named Andu Uzu, the school's top student. Ichino's Hakyu chimes in with a chilling rumor. Andu is a psychopath who uses people for her twisted experiments. Another student, Juka Usagozen, adds a chilling detail. People around Andu tend to disappear. Despite the terrifying rumors, Sakura heads to the clubroom, knowing Andu has a history of defeating specters. She recalls seeing a shadowy figure stalking her, confirming she's being targeted. A bead of sweat rolls down her cheek as the paranoia of being followed sets in. She finally arrives at her destination, the room at the very end of the third-floor corridor. Cautiously sliding the door open, she peeks inside the supposed clubroom. To her surprise, the room is completely deserted, with no sign of the rumored genius. A strange prickling sensation washes over her as mysterious fumes begin to fill the air. She realizes it's the smell of incense, a bizarre choice for a sealed classroom. With a frustrated sigh, she wonders where the club president could be, since everyone said she'd be here. A voice from the shadows confirms her fears, as a figure materializes right behind her. She spins around in a panic, her eyes wide with shock and terror. The figure is revealed to be a blonde student, casually holding a stick of incense in her mouth. This is Andu Uzu, the club president, who immediately dismisses Sakura and tells her to leave. Ignoring the dismissal, Sakura urgently explains that a specter is hunting her. Andu seems genuinely confused, asking if Sakura didn't hear her request. Her patience wearing thin, she coldly reiterates her command, admitting she's in a foul mood. Undeterred, Sakura changes the subject, nervously asking about the incense stick. Andu's demeanor brightens as she admits she was only pretending not to hear, claiming she was worried. Her smile fades as she delivers a chilling explanation. The incense is for her own funeral. Andu reveals she has investigated countless haunted places and always returned unscathed. Her lifelong dream has been to understand the specters, which is why she founded the Paranormal Club 2 years ago. But with a grim look, she explains that for some reason, the specters no longer come after her. Her dark monologue is cut short by the sudden appearance of another student in the doorway. The newcomer Sakura stares in utter shock at the club president's bizarre behavior. Andu explains that a life without specters is a living death, so she's using the incense to contemplate her end. She laments that no matter what she does, the specters now actively hide from her. Sakura looks at her with a deadpan expression, seriously questioning her sanity. She then points out that Andu isn't even smoking the incense, just holding it between her lips. Completely flustered, Andu breaks character and tells Sakura to be quiet, her cool facade crumbling. Andu reluctantly extinguishes the incense, annoyed that her morbid ritual was interrupted. Sakura watches her, completely bewildered by the club president's strange behavior. Changing her tune, Andu offers to give advice and asks Sakura to explain her problem. Sakura recounts her story, connecting the shadow specter to her failed escape on the train. The term countercourse leaves Sakura completely baffled. Andu smugly asks why she would try to leave without first attempting the town's countercurse. Her smug expression suddenly fades, replaced by one of dawning realization. She stands up, declaring that no true resident would be ignorant of the returner curse. Sakura nervously explains that she's a newcomer who just moved in last week. Andu's eyes widen in utter disbelief, her focus locked intensely on Sakura. Andu grabs Sakura, her face alight with manic excitement at the sight of a true outsider. She frantically demands to know her name, and a terrified Sakura stammers it out. The club president erupts in joy, celebrating the incredible luck of a new student moving into town. Her expression turns unsettlingly intense as she comments on how wonderfully normal Sakura's name is. Sakura snaps out of her fear, annoyed that Andu is getting sidetracked instead of offering help. With a knowing smirk, Andu calmly informs Sakura that the solution is simple. She was tricked. Sakura processes this, realizing Karen must have been the one to purchase the ticket she used. Andu points to the train, explaining this is where the deception took place. She reveals the returner curse often takes the form of a deadly train conductor for those who try to escape. Sakura deduces Karen only bought a platform pass, too afraid to carry the cursed ticket herself. Sakura concludes that Karen must have discarded the ticket somewhere in the station. Andu reveals that failing to recite the counter curse immediately summons a specter to hunt the victim. A skeptical Sakura turns away, pointing out that Andu herself could be the one deceiving her. Andu smirks, guessing Sakura trusts Karen more simply because the paranormal club has a bad reputation. Changing tactics, Andu poses a much bigger question. Why do specters haunt this town at all? Sakura grows uneasy, demanding to know what the club president is getting at. With a sly grin, Andu asks who could have possibly created all the town's bizarre, restrictive rules. She continues, questioning why only children are trapped and why the specters seem to be following specific commands. Leaning in with a knowing smile, Andu prepares to reveal her ultimate conclusion. She theorizes that a single hidden entity is orchestrating everything from the shadows. Andu reveals her theory that the specters are just pawns, summoned by a master entity that has long cursed the town. The sheer scale of this conspiracy leaves Sakura completely stunned and speechless. Sakura voices her doubt, finding the idea of a single, all-powerful entity a bit too unbelievable. Andu concedes it's only a hypothesis, but one she finds too compelling to dismiss. She declares the paranormal club's true purpose: to find the source of the specters and expose all of the town's secrets. The club president is overcome with manic glee, finding the town's deadly mystery to be the most exciting thing imaginable. Her excitement fades as she checks her phone, warning that the returner will fully manifest in less than an hour. Outside the school, the sky darkens, signaling that their time is rapidly running out. A close-up on her phone reveals the time is 5:05 p.m., confirming their window of opportunity is closing fast. Elsewhere in the school, a sudden rattling sound catches the attention of another student, who looks up in alarm. In another classroom, Karen calmly packs her bag, humming a cheerful tune. Sakura and Andu appear in the doorway, with Sakura calling out to her supposed friend. Clinging to a sliver of hope, Sakura says she still wants to trust her before asking a question. Karen feigns innocence, asking where Sakura was and mentioning the teacher was worried. Cutting through the charade, Sakura looks her in the eye and asks if she was tricked. The direct accusation leaves Karen looking utterly stunned and at a loss for words. She tries to play dumb, asking what Sakura means and why she's acting so strange. Andu steps forward with a smug wave, revealing she knows Karen is from the paranormal club. The club president tells Karen to drop the act, confirming that Sakura knows everything. With her cover completely blown, Karen lets out a sigh of defeat, her innocent facade crumbling. Karen repeats the accusation, asking if Sakura truly believes she was tricked. Her friendly mask shatters as she defiantly confirms the deception with a crazed grin. Sakura stares in utter shock, unable to process the sudden, terrifying transformation. Overwhelmed by betrayal, she tearfully asks why her supposed friend would do this. Andu chimes in from the doorway, reminding Sakura of the town's grim, unspoken rules. She reveals the town's darkest secret, a loophole allowing escape by sacrificing another to the specters. The horrifying truth dawns on Sakura as she asks if Karen truly intended for her to be a sacrifice. Karen confirms it with a chillingly calm smile, showing absolutely no remorse. She then glances at her phone, noting the time is now 6 p.m., signaling a critical deadline has passed. Sakura breaks down completely, screaming in anguish at the realization she was just a pawn for Karen's escape. A close-up reveals the specter's ticket puncher, a horrifying device resembling a skeletal jaw. The monstrous conductor, the returner, materializes in the classroom, its elongated neck twisting towards a horrified Sakura. Karen's face contorts in shock, confirming the specter's terrifying arrival. The creature lunges across the room, sending Sakura scrambling away as Andu watches with cold calculation. Andu calmly reveals the gruesome rumor that when the specter punches a ticket, it also punches a hole straight through its victim. Overcome with fear, Sakura desperately calls out to Karen, still hoping for help from her betrayer. The specter's hand snaps its puncher shut, the metallic click signaling its deadly intent. Andu urgently shouts a warning, telling Sakura that the ticket is the monster's true target. Sakura hurls her school bag at the creature, only to watch in horror as it passes harmlessly through the ghostly form. She stumbles backward in terror, desperately trying to escape the specter's shadowy grasp. The specter seizes Sakura by the neck, hoisting her into the air as she struggles to breathe. Andu observes with unsettling calm as the creature dangles a terrified Sakura in the air. In a flash, Andu lunges forward and clamps a hand over Karen's mouth, shocking her into silence. With Karen restrained, Andu reveals her true intentions with a confident smirk. Still in the monster's grasp, a tearful Sakura questions why Karen broke their promise to survive together. Karen scoffs at Sakura's carelessness for keeping the ticket, callously remarking on a worse fate she avoided. Andu's hand deftly plucks the cursed ticket from Sakura's pocket. Karen mocks Sakura's naivety, condescendingly calling her slow for a city girl. Her expression hardens as she describes the town as a living hell where children betray each other to survive. She erupts into a crazed laugh, mocking Sakura's foolish hope that they could ever escape together. Karen's face twists with manic delight as she mocks Sakura for being a naive outsider. Still in the specter's grasp, a heartbroken Sakura can only whisper Karen's name in disbelief. But Andu calmly intervenes, grabbing the specter's arm and telling Karen it's too early to celebrate. Karen's triumphant expression falters, replaced by annoyance at the unexpected interruption. Andu reveals her counterplan, explaining she switched the cursed ticket beforehand. She swapped it with the one Karen had bought and discarded at the station, turning the tables completely. With the specter's hand now on her own shoulder, Andu smugly asks who the curse will target now. The cursed ticket suddenly appears pinned to Karen's uniform, and she looks down in utter shock. Karen collapses to the floor, defeated and muttering that she was so close to succeeding. Andu coolly explains that the only way to beat the returner is to make someone else its target. Sakura asks if Andu orchestrated this entire scenario from the very beginning. Andu coldly explains the town judged Karen's attempt to offer a sacrifice. With the sacrifice complete, the returner vanishes, and Karen is now free to escape the town. A tearful Sakura wonders if Andu sacrificed Karen just to fulfill her request for help. Andu dismisses the idea, hinting at a much different and more selfish reason. Sakura turns to face her, realizing there's a different motive at play. With a manic grin, Andu reveals Sakura was just a pawn in her experiment, and she's thrilled with the results. She clarifies that saving Sakura was irrelevant. The entire plan was for her own satisfaction. Sakura is left utterly speechless and heartbroken by the club president's cold confession. A faint, unsettling smile plays on Andu's lips as she questions Sakura's tears. Defeated on the floor, Karen bitterly acknowledges her loss, telling Andu that she won. A tearful Sakura can only look on, whispering her former friend's name in pity. A flashback reveals Karen's simple dream of living in a bright, fashionable world surrounded by smiles. She confesses her ultimate goal was to become a hairdresser once she finally escaped the town. Karen explains that hating this place isn't enough. The only escape is to graduate or sacrifice someone. With grim resignation, she concludes that she had no other choice but to betray Sakura. Andu cuts in, revealing the paranormal club's true goal, to expose every secret this town holds. Inspired, Sakura rises with newfound determination, vowing to break the curse and free every child. Karen stares up from the floor, completely stunned by Sakura's impossible declaration. Even the unflappable Andu is caught off guard, her eyes wide with surprise. Karen erupts into laughter from the floor, mocking Sakura's ridiculous dream of breaking the curse. Kneeling down, Sakura admits that she knows she can't possibly succeed on her own. She turns to Andu, reminding the club president that she was looking for someone with a normal name. Sakura proposes a deal, believing that by joining the club, she can find the source of the town's curse. A sly grin spreads across Andu's face as she accepts, closing the first case file of the paranormal club. Later, Sakura reflects on the 3 unbreakable rules that govern life in this cursed town. Her thoughts drift to Karen, the friend she lost to the town's cruel system. Back at school, Sakura becomes the center of attention as students whisper behind her back. She overhears the rumors spreading through the classroom, painting her as the reason for Karen's fate. The other students are left wondering why Sakura hasn't used her newfound freedom to escape the town. Andu seems delighted to hear that Sakura is being ostracized by her classmates. Sakura is completely unnerved by the club president's cheerful reaction to her misery. She questions why Andu seems so happy about her predicament, gesturing toward the club sign. Andu clarifies she's just happy to have found someone with the same paranormal interests. She admits she never expected another person to join her quest to break the town's curse. Sakura sheepishly asks if there's actually a way to do it, confessing she might have spoken too boldly. The club president reassures her they have leads, referring to her theory about a mastermind. Her expression darkens as she confirms with chilling certainty that the entity exists. Sakura asks if this boss of all specters is real, picturing a shadowy, all-powerful figure. Andu smirks, revealing she has already encountered this master entity once before. Sakura stares in disbelief, completely stunned by Andu's revelation. Andu begins to recount a story from her past, back when she actively hunted specters. Andu clarifies that while she encountered the entity, she never actually saw its form. She recalls a moment when a terrifying, shadowy presence materialized right behind her. The encounter happened right after she had successfully driven off another dangerous specter. A disembodied voice from the darkness asked her a single chilling question about her interference. She admits that even after all her previous battles, this new entity was on a completely different level. The sheer pressure from the entity left her completely paralyzed, unable to move or speak. She had never experienced such an overwhelming and terrifying presence in her life. For the first time, the fearless specter hunter was completely overwhelmed by pure terror. Andu explains that after her encounter with the master entity, all other specters began to avoid her. Sakura reflects on how incredible it is that even the town's monsters are afraid of the club president. Taking a sip from her mug, Andu confidently concludes this proves her theory of a mastermind is correct. She predicts that if Sakura continues to meddle, she too will eventually face this powerful being. Andu asks Sakura to uncover the entity's true identity, hoping to resolve her own lingering frustrations. Sakura dismisses Andu's personal mission, showing she has her own reasons for getting involved. Her true motivation is to prevent anyone else from suffering the same fate as Karen. She declares with newfound resolve that she will investigate the specters to break the town's cycle of misfortune. A pleased smile spreads across Andu's face, happy to have found a kindred spirit in her quest. Her smug satisfaction is suddenly wiped away, replaced by a look of stunned disbelief. Andu suddenly stands, telling a confused Sakura that it's time to go. She smirks, holding up her phone and announcing their first official request has arrived. The club president reveals the message is from the shrine maidens of the local Yuyami shrine. Their urgent problem is that a powerful specter has completely taken over the sacred grounds. The scene shifts, showing the imposing torii gate that marks the entrance to the cursed shrine. Two shrine maidens, Ogawa Namaniku and Ogawa Shiniku, greet them with impatience and quiet resignation. Andu offers a tired apology for their tardiness, while Sakura recognizes one of the maidens from school. The girl identifies Sakura as the infamous transfer student, surprised to learn she's joined the paranormal club. She openly calls Sakura a weirdo for joining, leaving her new clubmate at a loss for words. The maiden clarifies that she and her sister are only there because their father is the shrine's main priest. Andu casually observes the identical shrine maidens, wondering if being twins is a job requirement. Namaniku explains her sister Shiniku is just shy, reassuring them she'll warm up eventually. A confused Sakura asks for their names, trying to keep up with the new faces. The timid Shiniku immediately ducks behind her sister, avoiding eye contact. Getting back to business, Namaniku urges them to focus on the problem at hand. Andu suddenly gets a bright idea, cheekily suggesting Sakura would look good in a shrine maiden outfit. Namaniku explains their shrine, once a place of blessings, has been desecrated by a powerful specter. The gravity of the situation hits Sakura as she processes the idea of a specter taking over a holy site. The shrine maiden points towards a nearby sign, indicating the source of the problem. She reveals that the trouble began when the sign detailing how to pray was mysteriously vandalized. Sakura and Andu listen with growing dread as the shrine maiden explains the curse. The vandalized sign reveals a bizarre new prayer ritual, promising blessings for those who follow it. Namaniku recounts how an unsuspecting visitor decided to follow the strange instructions. She explains they initially dismissed it as a prank, but the mysterious writing would reappear every morning. To their shock, the man who prayed according to the new rules suddenly came into a massive fortune. Soon, word spread as others who followed the ritual also received unexpected windfalls and inheritances. Sakura questions the problem, wondering why a blessing that brings wealth would be considered a curse. Namaniku reveals the sinister catch. The instructions never specified that the offering had to be money. She passionately reminds a stunned Sakura that in a town like this, good fortune always comes with a price. With a grim expression, the shrine maiden tells them to look inside the offering box to understand the true cost. The offering box reveals the curse's true cost, taking half of something precious from each worshipper. The shrine maidens explain this is why the place is called the one-sided shrine. A closer look shows single shoes, a wedding ring, and other incomplete pairs left as offerings. Andu finds this new specter's rules utterly fascinating, a sly smile spreading across her face. She quickly deduces the pattern. The specter only takes one item from a pair, leaving a useless half behind. Meanwhile, the timid Shiniku whispers to her sister, expressing doubt about their secret plan. Namaniku confirms their intentions with a wicked grin, noting that 2 club members are the perfect number. Her true goal is revealed: to sacrifice the paranormal club members so she and her sister can escape the town. She internally justifies her plan, seeing the 2 weirdos as a resource to be exploited. Andu suddenly interrupts the tense moment, cheerfully recalling that she was the one responsible for Karen's fate. Andu looks up at the twins with a chilling smile, issuing a stark warning against harming Sakura. The shrine maidens are left utterly terrified by the threat, their secret plan completely exposed. Sakura promptly smacks Andu on the head, clearly disapproving of her aggressive methods. As the twins tremble in fear, Sakura scolds the club president for threatening their clients. Andu questions the discipline, but Sakura fires back, annoyed by her lack of remorse. She pleads with Andu to never again resolve a case by sacrificing someone like what happened with Karen. The club president defends her threat, claiming it was a necessary precaution against a potential trap. Sakura firmly reminds Andu of her goal to save everyone, asking her to avoid needless sacrifices. Andu reluctantly agrees, promising to only resort to such extreme measures when absolutely necessary. When Sakura voices her skepticism, Andu gets flustered, questioning her new partner's lack of trust. Andu smirks, pointing out that Sakura never specified how she had to avoid sacrificing people. The twins panic, with Shiniku looking to her sister for guidance as their plan completely unravels. Sakura tries to calm the situation, dismissing Andu's words as an empty threat meant to scare them. But Namaniku regains her confidence, boasting that their specter is unbeatable and the club members are walking into a trap. Andu suddenly plays innocent, apologizing for her joke, but the shrine maiden knows the threat was very real. The club president waves them over, eager to get back to the investigation at hand. She asks if worshippers choose their own offerings, but Namaniku reveals the shrine itself makes the choice. The maiden explains that half of a chosen item is magically teleported to the offering box, no matter where it's hidden. While casually digging through the box, Andu wonders if anyone has ever tried to reclaim their sacrificed item. She pulls out a teddy bear torn in half, inspecting the strange offering with detached curiosity. As Andu reaches for the torn bear, an invisible force violently slaps her hand away. Namaniku explains that once an item is offered, it's bound to the shrine by the specter's power. The shrine maiden scolds Andu for her recklessness, while her sister quietly notes the club president's lack of common sense. Unfazed, Andu dismisses their concerns and turns her attention to the cursed prayer sign. Sakura questions why more people aren't taking advantage of the shrine's blessings. Namaniku reveals the dark side of the wish. The wealth corrupts people, turning them into bitter shells of their former selves. With a wicked grin, the shrine maiden suggests that Andu and Sakura should try praying for themselves. Andu smirks, having noticed a key detail in the prayer instructions about closing one eye. The twins turn to Sakura, ominously inviting her to step forward and perform the ritual. A sudden rustling sound catches Sakura's attention, her eyes widening in a moment of terrifying clarity. An unseen force compels Sakura and Andu to perform the prayer ritual, their eyes glowing eerily. Namaniku grins triumphantly, gloating internally that her trap has been sprung. She explains that the entire shrine grounds are the domain of the specter, a place under its complete control. The shrine maiden reveals the curse's true nature. Anyone lingering on the grounds is forced to pray against their will. The horrifying realization dawns on Sakura as she understands they've been ensnared. Namaniku smugly clarifies that only the shrine staff are immune to this powerful compulsion. Snapping out of the trance, a disoriented Sakura realizes they were forced to complete the ritual. The shrine maiden eagerly asks if they can now perceive what lies beyond the torii gate. She points with a knowing look, directing their attention to the specter that is now visible to them. A grotesque, pale specter with a tooth-filled maw appears from behind the torii gate, revealing itself to its new victims. Namaniku stammers in disbelief, her triumphant expression replaced with pure shock. Her sister nervously asks if this is the shrine's specter, confirming they can both see it. The shrine maiden panics, questioning why she and her sister are now able to perceive the monster. She knows the rules. Only those who performed the prayer ritual should be able to see the specter. but Andu calmly reveals she anticipated this outcome, much to Namaniku's confusion. Sakura turns in surprise, looking to her club president for an explanation. With a sly smile, Andu recalls the key detail that the cursed writing on the sign resets daily. Shiniku points toward the prayer sign, urging her sister to see what has been done. The club president explains her logic. Altering the text would go unnoticed for at least one day. Andu reveals her masterstroke. She changed the prayer's condition from closing one eye to simply blinking. Andu reveals she rewrote the sign, changing the condition to blinking, an action everyone present would perform. With everyone now cursed, Andu cheekily suggests they all work together to find a solution. Namaniku erupts in fury, calling the club president insane for dragging them into the curse. Sakura is horrified, realizing Andu's actions go directly against her recent promise. She connects the dots, dismayed that Andu broke her word almost immediately by ensnaring the twins. Andu ignores the outburst and intensely questions Namaniku, demanding to know the full extent of the trap. The club president speculates that the curse must take more than just simple paired items. Namaniku reluctantly begins her confession, explaining the curse started by taking halves of simple objects. Overwhelmed by fear, the timid Shiniku begins to cry, looking to her sister for help. Sakura recoils in shock as a large insect suddenly appears, skittering across the offering box. Namaniku explains that with each repeated prayer, the specter's demands grew more and more valuable. She reveals the offerings have now escalated to vital body parts, a horrifying price for any blessing. Sakura realizes with dawning horror that attempting to leave the shrine now means certain death. Overwhelmed by the grim reality, she questions why everything has to be this cruel. Sakura confronts the shrine maiden, whose panicked denial shows her own desperation to survive. In tears, she laments how the town's curse seems to turn everyone against each other. Andu calmly interrupts, satisfied that everyone has finally aired their true feelings. With a confident smile, she declares it's time to begin their escape from the cursed grounds. She reveals their only option is to somehow drive the powerful specter out of its new domain. Namaniku confirms the specter isn't just haunting the shrine, it has completely seized its sacred power. Andu smirks, asking what other objects in the shrine have been affected by the specter's curse. A confused Sakura and Namaniku wonder how they could possibly fight back. Sakura points out that if the whole shrine is cursed, there must be more than just the sign. Namaniku reveals other sacred items, like a mirror and a guardian statue, have been corrupted, but they were too afraid to touch them. The club president confidently declares their new plan, much to Sakura's dawning horror. Andu explains these corrupted items are likely totems that anchor the specter to the shrine. Her solution is simple and brutal. They are going to destroy every single one of them. The shrine maidens are aghast at the idea of destroying their sacred heirlooms. Andu coldly asks if they'd prefer the alternative, warning that the specter will claim them if they hesitate. She concludes that the shrine was doomed the moment this false god took up residence. Namaniku grimaces, disgusted by the sacrilegious plan to destroy their heirlooms. With a decisive push, Andu topples a corrupted stone lantern, beginning the demolition. The club president issues a stark warning, demanding to know if any other cursed items remain. With the final totem identified, they prepare for the specter's reaction. A monstrous spectral limb crashes down, lashing out in fury as its connection to the shrine is severed. Sakura looks on, shaken by the violent outburst but determined to see the plan through. As the dust settles, the specter's form dissipates, and they wonder if the creature has finally been banished. The group surveys the wreckage, with Sakura questioning if their destructive methods were truly necessary. Andu confidently strides up the steps, declaring their mission a success with a triumphant smile. A humbled Sakura follows, admitting she was useless and that Andu's reckless plan worked perfectly. Andu gives Sakura a smug smile, revealing that she was the key to their survival. Sakura walks away, admitting she never would have resorted to such destructive methods alone. The club president turns to find Sakura suddenly collapsed and unconscious on the steps. Nearby, the timid Shiniku looks on with concern, calling out to her sister. Namaniku erupts in a panic, loudly regretting their decision to involve the paranormal club. A disembodied voice poses a question, asking if they are truly desperate to escape the town. A close-up reveals Sakura is injured, and Andu stares in shock at her sudden decline. Andu realizes with dawning horror that the specter was never banished and has reappeared right behind her. The specter's influence causes a violent reaction, as Andu is suddenly overcome by a dark affliction. She questions how this is possible, completely baffled since they destroyed all the corrupted totems. A single decisive step is taken on the stone path, signaling a fateful choice has been made. Namaniku reminds her sister of their desperate pact to escape the town, no matter the sacrifice. The timid Shiniku smiles with an unsettling sense of relief, accepting their grim agreement. In a horrifying instant, Shiniku is struck down as her sister watches in wide-eyed terror. As she falls, Shiniku apologizes, revealing she was the final offering needed to break the curse. Namaniku realizes with dawning horror that with the totems gone, she is now the specter's only anchor. With her last breath, the dying Shiniku smiles, telling her sister that she is finally free to leave. Namaniku collapses in anguish, screaming over the body of her sacrificed twin. Her face contorts in a silent scream of absolute despair at the cost of her freedom. Back on the steps, Sakura suddenly jolts awake as Andu collapses unconscious to the ground. The shrine stands silent and empty, a monument to the terrible events that transpired. A few days later, Namaniku stands in the city, finally free but carrying the heavy price of her escape. She offers a quiet, awkward farewell to Sakura and Andu, the two who made her freedom possible. The town had accepted her sister's life as a valid sacrifice, granting her passage to the outside world. Back at the club, Andu stretches with relief, admitting she truly believed her time was up. Sakura recalls the shrine's terrifying rule. Leaving its grounds meant surrendering half of something precious. For the club members, the cost would have been their bodies, but for Namaniku, the price was her twin. However, the final totem was shattered just as the specter was claiming its due. Andu explains that this interruption nullified the curse, returning the parts of themselves they were about to lose. But Sakura raises a chilling point, questioning why Shiniku's life was the one price that wasn't refunded. Andu considers Shiniku's final expression, concluding her sacrifice was an intentional, calculated act. She theorizes Shiniku's choice was a way to prevent the specter from being trapped in an endless loop of curses. A train speeds away from the town, carrying a newly freed Namaniku to the outside world. Sakura can only wonder if Namaniku will ever find happiness after paying such a terrible price. Andu reflects on the twins, realizing that some things, like them, are meaningless without their other half. The cursed offerings remain untouched in the shrine's box, a permanent scar left by the specter. With its gods and monsters gone, the Yuyami shrine is now completely desolate and abandoned. Andu pivots to a new case, mentioning an old, abandoned hotel on the outskirts of town. She explains a local legend about an elevator ritual that can be performed inside the derelict building. The club president reveals the specific button sequence, teasing their next paranormal investigation. She explains the ritual supposedly grants access to a floor that shouldn't exist, the first basement. The elevator doors creak open, and Sakura is stunned to find the legendary secret floor is real. They step out into a long, dark hallway, its ominous atmosphere immediately putting them on edge. A new girl with them cheers excitedly, while Sakura notes with suspicion that the lights are still working. Sakura looks on with deep unease, clearly not sharing her new companion's reckless enthusiasm. The scene flashes back, revealing this investigation began because of a request made a short while ago. A first year from the journalism club, Ikomiki Kiki had excitedly proposed the trip to the abandoned hotel. Kiki explains she needed to investigate for an article, but was too afraid to venture into the hotel alone. Andu calmly sips her drink, agreeing to help with the content for the aspiring journalist's story. Sakura realizes Kiki is her classmate, who cheerfully insists they're on a first-name basis. Andu casually asks why Kiki didn't just bring someone from her own journalism club. Kiki sheepishly explains that her club has a bad history with specters, revealing 7 members have already disappeared. The staggering number of missing students leaves Sakura completely stunned. To prove her point, Kiki reaches into her pocket, telling them to look at what she found. She presents a horrifying remnant, explaining it's all that's left of a friend she used to investigate with. The gruesome proof of her friend's fate makes Sakura physically ill with shock. A panicked Sakura demands to know if the 7 missing members met a similar, grim end. Kiki nervously confirms that since no one has found them, their demise is the most likely conclusion. Andu erupts into laughter, finding the whole deadly situation amusing and calling Kiki crazy. Sakura stares in disbelief, utterly terrified by the club president's callous amusement. Kiki laughs awkwardly, taking Andu's comment about her being crazy as a strange compliment. Andu eagerly accepts the case, while Sakura stands behind her with a deep sense of foreboding. Back in the present, Kiki excitedly snaps a photo, confirming they've reached the legendary secret floor. Andu remains skeptical, noting the elevator buttons are now dead but considering it might be a normal locked floor. Sakura immediately suspects a specter is at play, her expression filled with unease. Her club president's attention is suddenly piqued, asking Sakura to elaborate on her theory. A closer look at the elevator panel reveals a new, chilling detail. Keyholes have appeared next to every button. Sakura panics, realizing the horrifying implication that they are now trapped without the keys. Andu confirms the keyholes are new and the reason they're stuck, though she tries to rationalize the situation. The club president turns to Sakura with a smirk, officially confirming they have a specter on their hands. Andu warns them to be careful, but Kiki has already found a key after exploring a room. The club president and Sakura are both stunned by Kiki's complete lack of caution. Sakura nervously questions Kiki's decision to wander off and search a room alone. She tries to explain the danger of running around when a specter could attack at any moment. Kiki has a sudden, flustered realization that Sakura's warning makes perfect sense. She falls silent, looking down at the set of keys she so carelessly retrieved. A closer look reveals the keys are ornate and clearly don't match the elevator's modern locks. Andu and Sakura exchange looks of exasperation, their escape plan hitting another snag. Sakura puts the pieces together, realizing they must search the dangerous rooms to find the correct key. Kiki confirms the new rule, revealing there's a key in every room and she's already checked several. Sakura stares down the endless, ominous hallway, dreading the long search ahead. Andu calmly deduces that the specter is intentionally toying with them, making them run in circles. With a knowing look, the club president decides they should split up to speed things along. She asks Kiki if the rooms felt strange, but the journalist confirms they seemed completely normal. Andu sets a strict rule. They will only search neighboring rooms and never get too far apart. She assigns the rooms, sending Sakura to 105 and Kiki to 106 while she takes 104. As she enters her room, Andu gives a final order to shout at the first sign of trouble. Inside, Sakura cautiously surveys the room, noting its deceptively normal appearance. She finds a key, but her hopes sink when she realizes it's just for a simple bike lock. Spotting another key on the desk, Sakura finally locates the one she was meant to find. From her room, Andu's voice notes that their search seems to be going well so far. But inside her own room, Sakura is shocked to find Kiki casually lounging on the bed, reading a magazine. The journalist smiles wistfully, pointing out a trendy shop in Tokyo she wishes she could visit. Her expression turns melancholic as she adds that she can't go there anymore. Sakura recoils in shock, realizing the girl on the bed is not Kiki, but an illusion of her former friend, Karen. The apparition of Karen places an old ornate key on the desk before disappearing. Meanwhile, Andu senses something is wrong. Deducing the specter's game is far more complex than a simple key hunt. Holding another useless key, the club president's unease grows as she tries to understand the true nature of the trap. In Kiki's room, a horrifying, shadowy figure of a girl materializes on the ceiling, calling out for her sister. A terrified Kiki looks up at the specter, revealing its name is Nina. Kiki stares in disbelief at the specter, stammering that she thought Nina was dead. The specter, Nina, mockingly laughs off the suggestion, her expression turning unsettling. Nina's form gruesomely distorts as she accuses Kiki of being her murderer. The monstrous apparition lunges forward, grabbing a terrified Kiki who tries to escape. Kiki is quickly ensnared by a strange web-like substance emanating from the specter. The specter violently slams Kiki to the floor, overpowering her completely. Looming over her, the enraged spirit screams that Kiki ruined her chance at happiness. Pinned down, Kiki desperately tries to convince herself that this is all just a specter-induced illusion. Hearing the commotion, Sakura bursts into the room, calling out to Kiki in concern. Sakura's eyes widen in absolute horror at the terrifying scene unfolding before her. Pinned down by the specter, a terrified Kiki desperately screams for help. Clutching the key, Sakura realizes the illusion in her room was a distraction from the real attack. She glances back, questioning why the club president hasn't reacted to the obvious struggle. Kiki stares up, confused as to why Sakura was spared from the specter's assault. The specter morphs into a horrifying version of Sakura, offering a hand to the terrified Kiki. A flashback reveals the moment police found a young Kiki at an abandoned house, responding to a missing persons report. Inside, the police recoil from a shocking scene, demanding an ambulance as they check on the child. Covered in dark stains, the young girl smiles serenely, questioning the officer's alarm. The child kneels in the middle of the disturbing scene, smiling as she declares that she is perfectly fine. Returning to the present, Sakura understands the specter is threatening Kiki with a vision of her own dark past. Kiki frantically tells Sakura to get the club president, pointing out her friend is clearly in trouble. A flustered Sakura snaps to attention, agreeing to fetch Andu immediately. Kiki desperately insists she can handle it, urging Sakura to hurry and get help. Sakura bolts from the room, shouting for the club president as she runs down the hall. The specter, now a blonde apparition, taunts Kiki about her new club activities, whispering that she'll soon be forgotten. Kiki defiantly points at the illusion, refusing to believe it's her former friend, Karen. The specter's face twists into a terrifying mask of rage, blaming Kiki for its demise. Kiki's hand lands on a vintage rotary phone, her mind flashing back to the real Karen. Fueled by anger, Kiki swings the heavy phone like a weapon, smashing it into the specter's head. The apparition shrieks as the blow lands, causing the strange webs binding Kiki to rip apart. As Sakura runs for help, she's thrown to the floor just as a shadowy hand slams Andu's door shut. Kiki, now free from the specter's grasp, rushes out to check on a breathless Sakura. Back in the room, the spectral illusion distorts with a final look of anguish before completely dematerializing. Kiki flinches, still shaken by the close encounter with the terrifying apparition. She glances back into the room, now empty save for a strange puddle, wondering if the specter has truly gone. Her focus shifts to her wrist as she realizes the web-like bindings are dissolving her uniform sleeve. Sakura finally gets to Andu's door, where Kiki praises her for her bravery, believing she helped her escape. With a worried expression, Sakura tells Kiki that she fears the club president is in serious trouble. They look into the room and find Andu unconscious on the floor, completely cocooned in the same strange webs. The two girls immediately rush to her side, desperately trying to tear the sticky bindings off their club president. Kiki kneels beside the bound club president, questioning the shadowy specter of her sister. The specter grabs Andu by the leg and begins dragging her down the dark, endless hallway. Sakura can only watch in absolute horror, completely paralyzed by the terrifying sight. Suddenly, the door slams shut, and Kiki catches the now freed Andu, noting the web's dissolved fabric. Kiki looks back at the closed door, completely baffled by the sudden turn of events. A dazed Andu slowly regains consciousness, weakly calling out to Sakura. The club president reveals with a grim expression that the specter was her own little sister, who died long ago. She admits that for a moment she lost her will to fight back against the apparition. Andu confesses the specter's attack made her feel like there was no point in living. Staring down the now empty hall, she reassures them she's recovered from the mental assault. Andu, sitting on the floor, asks Sakura what kind of illusion she encountered. A flustered Sakura hesitates, unsure how to answer the personal question. She reveals the specter took the form of Karen, blaming Sakura for her death. Andu stands, confidently announcing she has figured out the specter's true nature. She explains the specter manifests their fears, binds them in webs, and feeds them to the hotel. Sakura then turns the question to Kiki, asking what apparition she saw in her room. Kiki cheerfully takes notes, impressed by the paranormal club's expertise. She boasts that nothing can scare her, which is why no specter appeared for her. The journalist nonchalantly confirms that she saw absolutely nothing. Andu's expression hardens as she sternly warns the smiling Kiki to stay away from them. Kiki is left completely stunned by the club president's sudden accusation. Andu lays out the facts, noting Kiki's immunity to the specter is far too suspicious to ignore. The journalist nervously asks for a chance to explain herself, hoping to clear the air. But the club president coldly shuts her down, her mind already made up. Kiki falls silent, realizing she's been cornered with no way to defend herself. Trying to regain their trust, Kiki volunteers to search for the key alone, but Andu orders her to stay put. Andu issues an ultimatum. If Kiki wants to prove her innocence, she must do nothing until the case is solved. The club president turns to leave, calling for a hesitant Sakura to follow her down the hall. Defeated, Kiki reluctantly agrees to the terms, her cheerful demeanor finally cracking. Andu instructs Sakura to open the next door, making it clear their investigation will continue without Kiki's help. Andu theorizes that the specter manifests the deepest fear of whoever opens the door. Taking a deep breath, a reluctant Sakura pushes open the next door in the ominous hallway. A grotesque, moon-faced specter with a gaping, tooth-filled maw greets them from inside the room. Sakura immediately slams the door shut, her face a mask of pure terror from what she just witnessed. The club president tries to rationalize the encounter, but Sakura frantically points out they have no proof it's harmless. A flustered Andu pushes the responsibility back onto Sakura. admitting she's not prepared for what her own fear might unleash. Sakura argues back, suggesting Andu should be the one to open the next door since a different specter might appear. Andu insists Sakura must do it, warning that if her own personal specter appears, they could both be doomed. A flashback recalls Kiki's boast about being fearless, juxtaposed with the specter's attempt to prey on her past. Sakura glances back down the hall, her expression softening with concern as she sees Kiki sitting dejectedly on the floor. Sakura interrupts the club president, asking for a moment to speak with Kiki. She walks over to the dejected journalist, calling out her name to get her attention. With her face shadowed ominously, Sakura prepares to ask Kiki a very direct question. Kiki looks up, waiting to hear what her classmate wants to know. Sakura asks if Kiki was being literal when she claimed that nothing could scare her. The journalist confirms with a serene smile that her statement was absolutely true, leaving Sakura stunned. Kiki calmly explains that she simply does not possess the emotion of fear. She begins to recount a story from her past, flashing back to when she went missing from a park as a child. Kiki reveals that 3 days later, she was discovered inside a derelict, abandoned house. The flashback shows the interior of the house was covered in disturbing dark red stains. Sakura recoils in horror, realizing the dark stains Kiki mentioned were blood. Kiki reveals with a chilling smile that ever since that traumatic event, she has been completely unable to feel fear. She explains that while she was found physically unharmed, she has no memory of the 3 days she was missing. A confused Sakura turns to Andu, desperately trying to understand what could have happened to the journalist. Kiki calmly adds that the police investigation confirmed the substance was human blood, equivalent to hundreds of people. In a horrifying flashback, Kiki reveals the investigation's impossible conclusion. All of that blood was hers. The club president and Sakura are left utterly stunned, unable to process the disturbing revelation. Kiki speculates that whatever happened in that house permanently erased her capacity for fear. Andu realizes with a jolt that if Kiki is telling the truth, she was never their enemy. Sakura is left speechless, completely overwhelmed by the horrifying and tragic story she just heard. Andu triumphantly declares that Kiki's fearlessness makes her the perfect counter to the hotel's curse. With their new plan in motion, Kiki fearlessly opens every remaining door down the ominous hallway. She proudly presents a massive ring of keys, having collected them all without any specters appearing. Andu laughs, admitting she completely misjudged Kiki as they clear the final specter-free room. The journalist explains she joined her club hoping to encounter something that could finally make her feel fear. Kiki's expression shifts as she admits there was one single thing that has ever managed to scare her. Her sudden confession immediately piques the interest of both Andu and Sakura. She begins to recount the moment she returned home after her mysterious 3-day disappearance. The journalist reveals the only thing that truly terrified her was the unnerving way everyone stared. Her bizarre answer leaves both the club president and Sakura utterly baffled. The journalist suddenly screams, revealing her one true fear as a horde of skeletal figures in uniform. The next day, Kiki's article is published, but her fear-free writing style makes it a complete dud. With the correct key finally in hand, the club members successfully escape the haunted hotel. Sometime later, a ringmaster welcomes an audience to a bizarre freak show, introducing the first act. He unveils the main attraction, a performer presented as Mary the Headless Woman. Andu immediately spoils the illusion, explaining to Sakura it's just a simple trick with mirrors. An embarrassed Sakura tries to quiet her, but the club president is ruining the show for everyone. The next act is introduced as a fire-breathing boy who spouts a small flame for the crowd. Andu once again debunks the performance, revealing it's just flammable liquid and a hidden lighter. She continues to ruin every act, explaining another illusion is just a clever use of glass and twins. The next act is a girl supposedly haunted by a mirror spirit, but Andu remains thoroughly unimpressed. She immediately debunks the following act, a panda girl, as just a woman wearing makeup. On stage, a performer in a panda costume poses for the crowd, trying to sell the illusion. As they leave, Sakura feels ill from the atmosphere, while the ringmaster laments his own cheap show. Sakura reveals she only came because the circus appeared overnight, suspecting a specter was involved. Andu reassures her it's all fake, noting that freak shows used to be far more disturbing. Realizing it was a false alarm, Sakura wonders why they wasted their time coming here. The club president smirks, admitting that she enjoyed their normal outing, specter or not. A flustered Sakura suggests that if that was the goal, Andu could have chosen a much better place. Their bickering is interrupted as the ringmaster takes the stage to announce the final performance. The final act is revealed. a man with a bag over his head preparing for a grim performance. Andu and Sakura watch the stage, their expressions turning from skeptical to deeply unsettled. Under the spotlight, the hooded performer trembles nervously, clutching the pistol. The ringmaster cheerfully cues the act, adding a casual warning about the noise to come. The performer raises the weapon to his head, the sound of the hammer clicking through the tent. As the ringmaster hypes up the morbid finale, Sakura recoils in genuine horror. A loud report rings out as the performer completes the shocking act, resulting in a dark, messy conclusion. With the performer now motionless on the floor, the ringmaster takes a bow and bids the audience farewell. Leaving the circus, Sakura remarks on the show's utterly distasteful nature. She calls out to the club president, who seems lost in thought, still looking back at the tent. Andu admits the final act was the only illusion she couldn't decipher. She ponders the shocking final performance, unable to understand the trick behind it. A flashback reveals she returned to the circus day after day, obsessed with solving the mystery. Her expression hardens as she realizes no one else in the audience seems to find the act strange. The club president recalls how convincing the illusion was, with every detail appearing gruesomely real. Her thoughts turn to the panda girl, Jo Kid, who is always whisked backstage after the show. She watches the performer in the panda suit enter a backstage building, noting she's now alone. Deciding to investigate, Andu tells herself she's only looking for a hint, not admitting defeat. She approaches the door, preparing a simple excuse in case she gets caught snooping. Opening the door, she is greeted by the sight of a room filled with a large pile of black bags. She finds the room empty, noting with suspicion that the panda girl should still be inside. Her curiosity piqued, she reaches for one of the strange bags, wondering about its contents. The ringmaster suddenly appears in the doorway, catching her red-handed and asking if she peeked. Andu keeps her composure, calmly denying that she has looked inside yet. The ringmaster seems to dismiss her snooping, casually considering his next move. He reveals his true, monstrous form, suggesting he's looking for a new performer for his show. A flurry of appendages erupts from the ringmaster, quickly ensnaring the terrified club president. The sound of a heavy lock echoes, sealing Andu's fate inside the dark room. A week passes, with the ominous circus tent still standing in the same spot. A haggard Andu, having endured the ordeal, now understands the horrifying truth: the circus acts were all real. She realizes the circus is a traveling band of real specters that kidnaps locals for their show. The club president sees she's not alone, as countless other victims are locked in cages backstage. The ringmaster hands her a bag, coldly informing her that it is now her turn to perform. Recalling the grim threats for disobedience, she finally understands the horrifying nature of the show. She realizes with a grim certainty that the ringmaster has been telling the absolute truth all along. Now hooded and armed, Andu steps into the spotlight, forced to become the show's next grim finale. She understands the school uniform is a key part of the illusion, making the act too blatant to be believed. In the bizarre atmosphere of the freak show, the audience has lost all grasp on what is real and what is fake. Faced with an impossible choice, she decides to take matters into her own hands, believing it's the only way out. From inside the darkness of the bag, tiny pinpricks of light remind her of a starry night sky. Her expression hardens as she considers a desperate, last-ditch plan. She scans the crowd, hoping that Sakura is there to witness what she's about to do. Andu trusts that after days of her disappearance, Sakura would have connected the dots. She wonders what must be going through her friend's mind at this very moment. With a final confident smirk, she commits to her shocking course of action. The final act concludes with a sudden, irreversible outcome. As her vision fades to a starry sky, Sakura can only watch from the stands in absolute horror. The club president lies motionless on the stage, her fate sealed as everything goes dark.